Hello and welcome to another episode of Wednesdays with WV. This is episode number 63. In this episode, I'm going to host a guest who played cricket really well, and then got enough of knowledge about the game, and then decided that he was going to chuck a bank job and start doing things that will make this game a lot more better and a lot more easier for others in the fraternity. He took up the field of analysis and analytics, and it was a hard journey to start off with, but he's made a grand success out of it. And to survive in this domain and stay ahead for over a decade and a half is an achievement by itself. I'm talking about the founder of sports mechanics, Ramakrishnan, known as Ramky, was also the high performance analyst of the Indian team for a long, long time. Hello, Ramky. How are you? All well?
All good, WV.
And let's go back to where it all started. What triggered your calculated yet risky foray into business?
Uh, I think I had an entrepreneurial streak running in the family. My mom's side are all entrepreneurs, and so I joined Indian Bank. Cricket was played a pivotal role in my career. I got my school seat because of my cricket. Got my college seat because of my cricket, and I got my first job with the Indian Bank also in using cricket. So cricket was an integral part, and from there on, it so happened that cricket became a business also. So it's a fascinating journey so far.
Yeah, it is obviously. We'll unravel all that gradually in this episode. Banking career is considered a God's gift in our neck of the woods, but you went absolutely against the grain by quitting a bank job.
Absolutely, yeah. I kind of I remember Gautam, N. Gautam and myself. We scored 600 runs in your first year in first division. And Shrikant wanted both of us to play for Alwarpet, which was sponsored by TVS then. And at the same time, I got a job in Indian Bank, and which was in the fourth division. And people said, people, you're lucky to get a job because of your cricket, so go and join a bank. It is a safe job. So safety first was the approach was. So I was thrusted into the banking environment by my friends and family. So though I was reluctant to join there. I wanted to play in first division, pursue my cricket, but then it didn't happen. So I joined Indian Bank and I played for the team. And it was in fourth division, and we year after year we got it promoted, got it to the first division. And then it took me some time to get used to the first division, and played up to junior state, was in the state probables, faded out after that. So
Yeah, for those.
couldn't keep away. So once I stopped playing for the bank, and so it kind of hit me what I was doing with my career. I was married, 34, two daughters, and I didn't kind of I didn't think the banking environment was suited for me as an individual. So one of my neighbor, he was starting a payment gateway. He said, Ramki, you don't fit in as a banker at all. Why don't you come and join us as a marketing manager? So that was how it happened, and so I immediately jumped at it. Everybody in my family were shocked to hear from me that I was quitting a public sector, joining a private sector at 34 and married and two daughters. In fact, my father-in-law gave his daughter to me only because I was a banker, because he was also a banker. So, so all his son-in-laws were bankers. So he was really shocked when I told him that I'm quitting public sector and joining a private sector, and that too an IT sector, which I don't know anything about. But I had supreme belief in myself, and I said, okay, if nothing works, I'll go back to cricket. And I was sure that I will earn more money than what I was doing in the bank. So it was sheer that self-belief which propelled me through, and the urge to really succeed in the new area, because technology fascinated me, and they
How
were.
many how many relatives of yours stopped talking to you once you quit the bank?
Oh yeah, it was all disbelief, and all the pressure was everybody was scared to come and tell me, and they were scared to were careful not to disappoint me or demotivate me. But all the pressure was absorbed by my wife. She took on the pressure, and she said that only one thing, that I believe in his decision making capability, and I am okay with whatever he takes, and
I'll
that's
tell
how.
you why I asked you that question, because I went through that. In fact, I didn't join a job in a bank. You know it. We met one of your people, and there was an approach made to me. I didn't join, but much before that, Reserve Bank offered me a job. I refused it, and suddenly a lot of people stopped talking to me because they said you're too arrogant to refuse a job from Reserve Bank of all banks.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I asked you that question.
Yeah, those days it was about safety first and banking job, and we come from a middle class family, and people were concerned as to what I was going to do in the career, and because I was not professionally qualified, and just depending on cricket alone is not going to fetch you anywhere. Of course, I was not at the level at what you played, and the talent what you had, but yeah, aspirations were there to play for the country, and that kept us going.
We left-handers and our confidence, I tell you, Ramky. But for those who didn't know much about Ramky's playing days, we played a lot of cricket from our younger days against each other, with each other. I must tell you, people, that he was a very, very stylish left-handed batter, and it was unfortunate that obviously things didn't happen in cricket. But of course, he didn't leave cricket. Cricket and he were intertwined for a long time, and still continues. That association still continues. Uh, you got into, once again, when you got into cricket, you got into a domain which is absolutely unheard of, which is the coaching analysis domain. And how did that happen?
Yeah, so when I joined this IT company, initially they were starting a payment gateway, and I was supposed to be the marketing manager, and it was really a big shift, a big transition, because from for almost 20 years of our life, we was spent between 3 and 6. We were used to spending it outdoors on the ground, and here was in a job. I couldn't concentrate between 3 and 6. I had to go out, so I had to put up some fake calls and go outside, and so I made sure that I didn't get stuck to the office. 3 and 6, I couldn't sit in office, and that's how it happened. But so once I joined them, the dot-com bubble burst, and the 2000, the dot-com bubble burst, and all their plans of payment gateway and all got shelved. And they on the entrepreneurs, the promoters there asked me what I was going to do, and I said I'll stick to sports and technology, and that's how it happened. We brought in visual based coaching system. I said the coaching is naked eye, so how can we bring in more visual based coaching system? And then that's how it started in 2001.
You started off with the coaching software as a tool, wasn't it? And it would have been very difficult for you to make people buy into that idea.
Oh yeah, it was a huge task, because nobody understood where I was coming from, and I used to, I didn't have money to buy a laptop. The company said you sell some 6, 7 licenses of a software to buy a laptop, and I couldn't sell licenses, and I used to carry a big desktop to every ground, literally begging all the coaches to just have a look at it, and many of the coaches didn't give me the time at all, because at the sight of a computer they ran away from it, and they didn't give me the time at all. So it took me some time to convince them that that it's only that they are going to only observe and see if there is anything which new which can be absorbed. But I was not able to sell many licenses, but I was convinced that multimedia can play a pivotal role in making coaching much more visual and more interactive in nature. So I then decided that since I couldn't sell much, I decided that I wanted to show the world how to use it. So I started providing services, and that really picked up, because every coach was happy with me doing all the technology related stuff, and they were happy doing the coaching stuff. So I soon started working with all the top academies and top associations. TNCA was the first one to give me a break. Dr. Natarajan, the Zonal Academy camp, he gave me a break. Then it was Shaker at the MRF Pace Foundation. And from there on, quickly we picked up and we were working with all the top coaches in the academies all over the world.
At the start of that journey, how many sleepless nights did you spend?
I know, there is I was so immersed in it, I didn't realize the risk behind the whole thing. So I was not pressurized at all. So I was very keen that this can be a big change in the coaching, transitioning coaches from naked eye coaching to visual based coaching, and the impact it can produce. And I remember when my father bought a video camera first time when Handycam was introduced. I took it to my nets and asked my teammates to shoot the video, and that is the first time I saw myself. And the analyst in me started then. And then I used the same camera. I was coaching a school in Adayar, Bala Vidya Mandir, and I used the same video camera for coaching. And I could see the impact it can create and how it can accelerate skill development.
Eventually, you managed to get your foot through the door of the BCCI.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I kind of analyzed about 100,000 cricketers in the company of all the top coaches in the world. And soon the word spread around to John Wright. And John Wright invited me for a seminar in the National Cricket Academy. And all the coaches were all whom I had looked up to. There was Prasanna, there was Kirbani, there was Roger Binney. All the top players who had played for India were there. And I was supposed to brief them on visual-based coaching. It was supposed to be a 45-minute session, but everybody enjoyed the session that they wanted me to continue. And John Wright very promptly handed over his job to me and said, Ramky, continue for the entire day. So I did the entire day. And at the end of the day, he said, Ramky, there is a vacancy with the Indian cricket team. The money is not great, but do you want to join? And I said, no, Indian would refuse that offer, and I'm on board. So
what was your first impression walking into the Team India dressing room?
Before the dressing room, it was the camp in the National Cricket Academy. We were preparing to go for Australia, and the camp out there, and I did the shoot, and that was the first camp I did with the team. And I did all the shoot and other things, whatever I'm supposed to do, and at the end of it, I was ready. So John said, you wait in the audiovisual room. And I went and waited there. Those are my most tense moments because I didn't know what to expect. I don't know what he expected me to do. And one by one, the big five marched into the room. And that's when I realized, and everybody was asking me, questions about, what do I feel? And so, frankly, that 100,000 cricketers whom I analyzed earlier before joining the team held me in good stead. I was able to really match up to their expectation. And all of them gave a good feedback to John, and I was on board with the team as such. And the team didn't have any tools there, no software, nothing was used. And I remember the first tour to Australia. So I went and asked Rahul Dravid what kind of team meetings happen. And he said it is all informal, and we all used to assemble in the coach's room. And tomorrow is an important game. Last 5 minutes, they will say, okay, tomorrow is an important game. We have to play well. And so that was it. And I said, how do you discuss about the opponent and how do you transfer the knowledge? He said, we all have one-on-one discussions, and we have played a lot against these guys. So whatever knowledge we have, we pass it on to the cricketers. So that is how knowledge transfer used to happen. And so I said, I was a little surprised because we used to prepare much better for our banking matches. Then I asked Saurav Ganguly whether he knows somebody in ESPN. He said, why? I said, I want to get all the Ashes series. England versus Australia series had happened, and that was the latest series. So I want the tapes of all those games. And he came to Australia armed with 25 VHS tapes. And my first week in Australia, I was locked inside my room, didn't see the outside world, spent on digitizing the entire 25 VHS tapes, and then mining that for the opposition intelligence. And this is the first time in the history of Indian cricket, opposition intelligence was in a visual manner.
But the thing is that the cricketers of that era might have been old school in the way they were brought up, but they were all keen learners, weren't they?
Oh yeah, it took some time for people to embrace it. Once they got a feel for it, they began embracing it much more. And fortunately for me, the coach John Wright gave me an open hand that gave me the freedom to really contribute. Also, those days, sometimes you had to. It was more out of ignorance. People didn't realize what is the role of an analyst and how we can contribute. People didn't realize we stayed in separate hotels initially. We didn't stay with the team. And all that we had to convince people that we can contribute more, we can add more value if you're only staying with the team. So all that happened. Even if I had to buy a laptop and all that, it was quite difficult in the early stages. So I spent a lot of my own personal money to move on with what I wanted to implement. And then I realized that, from before joining the Indian team, it was more about technical, more on the skill development side of it. I was more involved in the technique side of it, and I was learning from the best in the business. And being a good student of the game, I really picked up a lot of knowledge from all these coaches. But once I joined the team, I realized that it was not about technique, but it is about winning. And how do you winning with data was a concept which we evolved.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Yet, despite all the trials and tribulations that you had to undergo, you had a long innings with the Indian team and you built up some wonderful friendships with the legends, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, it is a dream come true. Rubbing shoulders with the legends, and those 6 years I spent with the Indian team, traveling with the Indian team. I aspired to play for the country as a cricketer. Went on to represent the country as the first performance analyst of the team. So it's a dream come true for me. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I was blessed, and I got that opportunity, and I made sure that I was able to contribute and add value to all the cricketers. I was there to enhance their performance, and whatever knowledge and whatever kind of feedback we can provide them with. We did it whether it is late in the night, at 3 o'clock in the morning. I had the people calling me, Ramky, I want to see the videos. Those days you didn't have the internet or the mobile. So it is all, I had the honor of making Sachin, Rahul, Saurav Ganguly all wait in front of my room because everybody was slotted a time and they all waited to get their slot to come and discuss with me. So it's a fascinating experience because you're in the midst of high performers. My personality underwent a big change because you're in the midst of high performers and you're always thinking about high performance, and excellence as a habit became well entrenched.
Once you stopped traveling with Team India, did you miss the glitz and glamour?
Of course, yes. But yeah, we get used to it. And, my daughter sent me a message saying, "We are your family. Have you forgotten us?" It looks very glamorous from outside traveling with the team, but it is a grind. And, living out of suitcase, you're cut off from society, you're cut off from your friends. You miss a lot of, I missed a lot of my daughters growing up. But yeah, I loved it. I love that. Even today, I want to go and I would love to go back and perform the same role because it's a honor representing our country and contributing in a very, very different way.
From analysis to analytics, how big a move was it?
Oh yeah. So as I said, initially it was all about technique and about biomechanics, sports science part of it. And then once I joined the team, it was more about, I realized that it is about strategy, gameplay, and how do you, and we didn't have any data. I mean, so I used to depend on cricket for a lot. So but they were friendly enough to contribute those days. And then
Quickly, Ramki, just give us a brief distinction between the data analysis and data analytics.
yeah, see, data analysis is, there are sources of data happening, multiple sources of data happening. And there is an explosion of data happening around an athlete. So how do we collect all the data and cleanse that data and make it ready for analysis? That is one part of it. In terms of collecting the data, that's a data lifecycle management. In terms of collecting the data, cleansing the data, processing the data, and getting it ready in a format where the analytics can play a role. So it's about not only one game, it's about collecting games, across seasons, across years, finding patterns. All those are the analytics part of it. And how do you, provide that, and how do you visualize that and make it understandable? Most important is making the cricketers understand and absorb what we are trying to say. So 25% goes into research and analytics and all that. 25% goes into how well it is embedded in the subconscious mind of the player and the coaching staff. 50% goes into the execution. But how well they execute depends on the first two blocks.
Yeah, the data has to be good. If the data is not good, the analysis will not be good enough. If the
Absolutely.
analysis
More the data,
then all the strategies will go kaput.
correct. And there is a randomness to performance. You can't predict everything, right? There is a randomness to performance, and yeah, you can only make it, let's say from a opposition perspective, you can make it difficult for them to succeed and give our team a better chance. And we always pride within our sports mechanics, we always pride ourselves whenever the team takes 20 wickets in a test game.
It's a good thing you brought up randomness to performance. I was coming to that in my next question. All these data, the analysis and the analytics are of great help, no doubt. But how do these elements help the emotional aspect of sport?
See, it all depends upon how the coach uses the data. Okay, he's in a better position when he's using data to start the conversation with the player and convince them. And once a player knows that you are armed with evidence-based conversations and you're armed with data, and he's done his homework, and the acceptance, the buy-in of the player becomes much higher. Because it no matter how high the cricket you have played, how good a cricketer you are, but when you are a coach, it is that buy-in from the player. Unless you go get that buy-in, you will not be able to succeed. The same way for an analyst also, if you don't get the buy-in of the coach, and if you don't get the buy-in of the players, then it's very difficult to contribute. Whatever you say will not be accepted.
I was reminded of what Bharat Arun said in one of our conversations on this platform. He said it's like fire. It's all about how the coach uses fire. He can cook food on it, make tasty food. At the same time, he can burn the house if he mishandles it. I think that's exactly what you're conveying in a different way.
Absolutely. Different coaches use it very differently. It's fascinating over the period how coaches do it. And also from an analyst perspective, it is up to you how you present that data, how you sell your viewpoint. So you have to be a good salesperson to go and sell your ideas, your concepts. And sometimes you feel inhibited by you're talking to somebody who's a legend and you're going and telling him about technique, or game strategy. Not many people can talk on technique because not many of the analysts are trained on that side. But I had I was fortunate to analyze about 100,000 cricketers and work on the basics of the game. So I was a little lucky that I was good on both sides. One is understanding the data and understanding the game also, and the technique part of it. So I was able to contribute from both sides.
Definitely, you did. The corporate style of governance is the core of management in the IPL teams. Now, in your view, what are the advantages and disadvantages of that?
Absolutely. It has to be a hybrid approach always. We had some of the franchisees, they were running it like a corporate, which never went down with the cricketers. People hated playing for those teams. In the corporate environment, when there is a problem, you sit into meetings, till you solve the problem, right? Whereas in cricket, it doesn't work like that. Cricketers their attention span is very, very less, and you can't make them sit for too long. And it has to be done very differently. So it is a combination approach. Certain areas, the corporate discipline, the drive, the mental discipline to achieve success is all that is good. Certain things from a sports sector, you must be able to embrace from the athletes where they believe that impossible is nothing. So they go about proving yourself when you present some concept of data, and they go out to prove it wrong with their ability. And that's what athletes are supreme.
For all the knowledge and experience that you have as an analyst and as an analytical guy, have you figured out sometimes what exactly prompts some of the decisions that are made by the IPL franchisees?
Yeah, initially when IPL started, we were finding that most of the franchisee owners were making decisions based on gut feel and intuition. And it is just a random approach. They were not too much rational behind the purchases. There's not too much strategy around it. So we felt that there is a huge need there and a huge gap there, because the 80 crores or 90 crores was spent on just gut feel alone. And we sensed the opportunity there. So we developed a very good model whereby it helps in it's a decision support system for the auction, where we help the team owners forge combinations at a optimal price, because the purses also has to be well managed for you to get a good combination. So it's good combination at a optimal price. So that is a challenge there, and we help them with the data. And soon people, I mean, initial days people didn't know how it can be applied. So we carried a DVD of the movie Moneyball, and we ask them, have you seen the movie Moneyball? They'll say no. So we'll give them the DVD and say, okay, you watched it, and we'll come back for a discussion later. Because unless they know what we are going to do, we are always going to be expensive, and because they don't realize the value addition we can bring to the table.
Looks like you've not worked with one particular franchisee which has not addressed the bowling issues for a long period of time.
Yeah, I think I was fortunate enough to work with multiple teams. So multiple coaches, their coaching philosophy, the way they motivated the team, the role play, the role definition, how they define the role. Man, single most important thing is role definition in a team, and how they define the role. And we also had the fortunate to see some of the captains use different techniques to embed the role definition in the mind of the players. Sometimes the captains used nicknames around the player and around the role play, and so that the role play got entrenched into their subconscious mind. So it's about embedding into the subconscious mind as to what their role was and what is the expectation of the team on them.
You took a punt at a stage where nobody would have dared to. You spent a long time in this business. You've been a phenomenal success. What have you gained the most? Is it satisfaction, or is the friendships, or is the feel good factor of being involved in cricket?
The first one is being involved in cricket, because that is what we love the most from childhood. So that is the biggest satisfaction. Doing what is. So I was lucky to have a career which was my passion as well. So I don't feel like working. I mean, I'm just chasing my passion.
Do you still think that this data management, this data analytics has not been embraced in a wholesome manner even now?
Absolutely. It's still in the early stages. There is a lot of scope for improvement out there. Lot more. The coaching staff, particularly, have to believe that data can play a role. It is going to show them things which they are not observed through the naked eye or through that. But nothing beats the gut feel and intuition of the coach. We are matching the same gut feel and intuition of the coach. Whatever point they're coming up with, we are matching that with the data. So marrying both the gut feel and intuition along with the data can produce the best results. And the coaches have to embrace all these, because these are new possibilities. And all the while we are trying to unlock the new possibilities, whether it's technology, whether it is analytics, we are trying to unlock the new possibilities, helping coaches coach better or achieve results better in a shorter period of time.
Technology develops at a very brisk pace. It's here today, tomorrow it's gone, it's outdated. Now, can sport ever evolve at the pace at which technology grows?
Sporting community is pretty rigid in embracing anything new. They all go by the traditional methods of doing, which is a change which you are trying to bring about, because the kids are today born with smartphones. And so your coaching methodologies have to change according to that. And unless today's kids, unless you explain to them, unless it is evidence-based, unless it is a scientific intervention, people are not going to believe in what you're going to do. So it is important for the coach to embrace all these, because we are not asking them to develop the technology or develop anything. It's only that they have to know how to consume it and apply it in their coaching philosophies.
We're talking about enhancement of player skills, developing better strategies to win and stuff like that. Where does one go to enhance the mental aspects of the game?
Oh, I think the mental aspect of the game is the biggest next biggest thing waiting to happen in sports. It's kind of underrated. Today, in one of the Australia tour, the BCCI appointed Sandy Gordon as a sports psychologist, and nobody really the awareness was very poor at that point of time. So none of the cricketers went to him. So I asked one of the cricketers, "Okay, why don't you go and take his help?" He said, "मैं पागल थोड़ी हूँ." So, so they believe that.
Not surprising.
Yeah. So so the awareness is so poor that in India it is about only if you have a problem you go to the psychologist, right? So they never thought that the psychologist can play a high performance role, and that's very, very important. And I'm sure that will catch up big thing. I think that's the next big thing waiting to happen in Indian sport.
As a pioneer in your domain, what route map would you suggest to aspiring analysts or analytics oriented guys?
I firmly believe that it is a great career pathway for the coaches because if you want to become next generation coach, first you become because analyst is supposed to be providing strategies, providing game strategies and playbook, and so there is a very thin line between the coach and the analyst per se in terms of the strategy and playbook. So I firmly believe that if a coach you start as a performance analyst and then become an assistant coach and then you become a head coach, so you'll be a different coach, next generation coach all the way. And
Are there any
for people who want to become analyst, cricket domain knowledge is very important. Analytical skills are very important. Being digitally savvy is important.
Do you train / coach or conduct courses for analysts, budding analysts? Do you do that?
We don't do as on an individual basis, but we do it on behalf of the BCCI or the NCA or the state association, and we conduct workshops. We try to spread more. So I believe that knowledge is for sharing. So literally, I have developed a lot of cricketers, and today I can boast of creating employment opportunities for 5,000 odd people who are earning about 15,000 rupees a day. So I think there is a lot more which can be done. We need about Indian sport require about 100,000 sports content collectors. And I see a great opportunity for former athletes and sportsmen to embrace that, become sports content collectors and contribute to the sport they love.
Excellent stuff, Ramky. As far as what you've done and how you helped others make a living, and also it was terrific chatting to you. Thanks for your time, and my heartfelt gratitude to you for accepting my invitation at short notice.
Thank you, WV. It's a pleasure talking to you. Always, you've been an intellect of sorts, and mixing that with cricket, powerful combination. So, wishing you all the best. Thanks.
Cheers. That was Ramky providing us with a lot of insights about the domain of analysis and analytics, and also sharing his experiences with the Indian team when he was a part of it for a long, long time. As I always say, for those who've been with us right from the start, keep your comments coming, and that's a great help to us. And for those who joined us for the first time, visit our channel, the Sports Star handle, and watch all the earlier episodes. And I'm sure you love all the content that's there on these episodes of Wednesdays with WV. However, before doing anything further, press on all the buttons like, subscribe, and what other buttons are left there for you to press. And do continue to join us in the future as well. And it's time for me to take leave of you. And before I do that, I always sign off with the line that until I catch up with you next time, be good and stay safe.